So brothers and sisters, again, we have such a great minister in the city of Memphis, and the student that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has sent to us, who's been in this city for well over 25 years, since I've been a Muslim in the Nation of Islam. And he is a humble man, such that he has allowed brothers and sisters under him to grow, to develop, to blossom into those that would help the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the cause of truth in our midst. Such is our brother Ilia Rashad Muhammad, a brother who is an educator here in the city of Memphis, a brother who is a researcher and a member of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's research team. So please receive our brother Ilia Rashad Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Let us begin, as always, seeking the blessings and guidance of God. We begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, the one God to whom all holy praise is due, the God mentioned throughout the scriptures of Bible and Holy Quran, who is expected to come, not in the form of a spirit, not in the form of a spook or an apparition, but literally the scriptures detail God's coming in humanly form. So we thank God for fulfilling his promise and coming just as the scripture said he would. And he came and he raised among us a man who we know now to be not just God's messenger, but really to be that messianic figure that the world of religion has been awaiting. That man I speak of is none other than the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the man who even his critics agree became the most powerful black man in America with an unarmed force. Yet it is this man that they have so diligently and deliberately tried to wipe out of history. For most of us never learned about the majesty of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in our schools and in our trainings, and certainly not in our religious upbringings. But we thank God for continuing his mercy, continuing his love, continuing that majesty by leaving the national representative and designated, appointed and anointed representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that is our brother, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. With that being said, dear brothers and sisters, let me greet you humbly yet happily with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. I pray that you all are in good spirits today. I pray that you are in the right mindset and prepared to hear something that we hope to uplift your level of consciousness. We hope will inspire you. We hope will heavily inform you. As we move forward, let me thank my brother. And did I give you all the greetings? Yes, sir. Okay. Let me thank, of course, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for being humble enough and gracious enough to be able to inform the public and inform students like me on a subject of this magnitude, that we can now go before the world, go before scholars, go before the scientists and leaders of the world and declare with proof and fact and verity that God has come and is present in the world. So I thank Minister Farrakhan, and I thank him for preparing his representative here in the city of Memphis, our great brother, my teacher, who is out of town doing nation business. I believe he's in St. Louis delivering the lecture up there, and that's our brother Abdul Mudhakir Muhammad. And certainly as I'm thanking God for these men, I want to thank my brother who is such a steadfast warrior in the cause of Allah, the brother you just heard for opening this mosque meeting. Y'all give it up for brother Rodney A. Oh yeah. Now, we got a powerful subject for you today. As you can see, we want to deal with a subject matter that it seems as though nobody wants to talk about. It seems as though we in the Nation of Islam can't even pay our critics to argue with us about. You know it's one heck of a thing when you have a truth and you are so anxious to share that necessary truth with the world, but even your staunchest critics and enemies refuse to engage you when it comes to a subject matter like this. It's a subject matter that many of you have heard in the news pertaining to the UFO phenomena, unidentified flying objects, unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP as the new term they call it now. But this is a subject of intense importance because governments and militaries throughout the earth, led by America, have expended countless billions, dare I say trillions of dollars, trying to look into this reality. And believe me, your most powerful government in the world is not going to expend their resources and their time and energy and money looking for something that does not exist. That's right. Make sense? Yes, sir. So this is a subject of tremendous magnitude that warrants all of our attention. Now, we want to try to compact a lot of information in this small time frame that we have before you today. So whatever I don't get to necessarily say, I would encourage you to feel free to take some snapshots of some of the slides and whatnot that we have on here. You know, that's like the new way of taking notes. When you come to Muhammad Mosque in the Nation of Islam, you are not necessarily coming to a place where somebody's just going to preach to you. Have you figured that out? Have you noticed? This is not where we just come into, well, going to tell you this and you better believe it, or if you don't believe it, you're going to hell. This is not one of those kind of parties. This is the truth of God, and if it is the truth of God, certainly those of us who claim to be bearers of that truth should be able to present some level of evidence in order to convince the people of God. Would you agree with that? Yes, so when you really come to God, you're not coming to some religious dogma. You are coming to be taught and fed and heavily informed. So feel free to take snapshots of the slides. I don't know if you want to take snapshots of me because I'm not that good looking anymore, but you know, I think we'll have some information on the slides. So my wife thinks I'm good looking. That's all that matters, right? All praise is due to Allah. But our subject, family, is this great battle in the sky. Yeah. Why such a subject matter? Because all throughout the world of religion and scholarship, there is this great anticipation of a major conflict between good and evil. That's just putting it in its simplest terms. Yes, sir. All your scriptures, all your prophecies, all of your major faith traditions speak of a time when this huge conflict between God and Satan would take place that would ultimately result in physical war. It is psychological and spiritual war too, but even it will translate into a physical manifestation of that war between God and Satan. You call it the war of Armageddon. You call it the judgment. You call it all of these things, but it seems as though most of us are not ready to face reality and look at it for what it is. But all of the scriptures foretell of God's coming to enact judgment and retribution particularly against the people, the satanic people, that have held his people in bondage. These are the conditions that warrant God's coming. This is what all the scriptures talk about.
Yes, sir.
Why your preachers don't preach it like that, I don't know. But from Genesis to Revelations, in the Holy Quran, from Al-Fatiha to Al-Nas, we read how God will come and protect his people just as he said he would. I'm reminded of the scriptures in the book of Isaiah, where it says, "For behold, the Lord will come." He's going to come? Where he going to come from? If the Lord is this omnipresent being that everybody talks about, where is he going to come from? So God is going to come. Clearly, he's going to come to the place where the conditions warrant his coming. The place where his people have been most damaged and in bondage and enslaved for over 400 years, as the scriptures foretell. So the Lord will come with what? With fire. Oh, my God. And with his chariots. That's a term used throughout the scriptures. Talks about his flying chariots or wheels. Like a whirlwind. Oh, hold up now. So God is going to come like a whirlwind with his chariots, with his weapons of war. And it might even be through the sky like a whirlwind. Hello, somebody. What's he coming for? To render his anger with fury and rebuke with flames of fire. So something that made God mad. Some type of condition in the world got God upset. What would make God upset? Again, all the scriptures talk about what these wicked people have done to his people. So God is going to destroy this wicked people while he raises his people up to prominence. Ain't that the gospel?
Yes, sir.
That's the book.
Yes, sir.
I know your preachers don't preach it like this, but throughout the Holy Quran, Allah warns us and lets the believers know that he is our protector. Allah lets the believers know that if we are steadfast on his deen, in his will, in his way, that he will protect us even against insurmountable odds. When we study the history of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we read how he and the early Muslims were heavily outarmed, heavily outnumbered, heavily outmanned and out-resourced, but because of the steadfastness that he and the early Muslims endured, Allah would protect them and they would win their battles. So Allah tells us, yea, if you are steadfast and keep your duty, and they come upon you in a headlong manner, if the enemy try to come up on you with all their resources, with all of their might, with all of their strength, Allah tells us, your Lord will assist you with 5,000 havoc-making angels. So you're dealing with a God who can and will protect his people in the real world. This is not something that is limited to the spiritual realm, you know. In religion, most of the time, they just keep us so spooked out, where everything is so abstract, and very little application is given to real-world circumstances and conditions. This is where religion has failed miserably. I'm talking about religion in general. We've got so spooked out in looking at God and Allah in some spooky way that we can't see his manifestation in the real world, even when he fulfills everything he said he was going to do. So we see where God is promised to come and fight for his people who seem as though they are the most vulnerable. Now, this should be of utmost importance for us because we are people who are the victims of the worst form of slavery, the worst form of dehumanization and oppression And yet, we are still here. We are people who subtly feel like we can't overcome our oppressors. We don't always say it like that, but in the back of our minds, we really believe we can't stop the white man. Why do we think like that? Because we don't see any military force that we have that seems to overpower the nuclear weaponry and military prowess exhibited by America and these other European and foreign nations. So in our mind, black folks like, yeah, I believe in God, but we can't overcome this power. That's how we think. Because you don't know God. So what Allah revealed to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is essential, because in order to battle and overcome this enemy, being outnumbered, being outarmed, being out-resourced, you have to know something about the God and the weaponry associated with this God that is more superior than your enemies. If you do not have this requisite knowledge, all praise is due to Allah. If you are in a war or a battle and you're supposed to be fighting, if you don't even know the backup that you have, there's no way that you can even fight with confidence. So if you see what the enemy has and you don't know that you have something more powerful backing you up, then of course you're going to either capitulate, you're going to bow down to the enemy, or you're going to go to the battle with no confidence whatsoever. So knowing the truth and science of the God and the weaponry, the superior weaponry of this God that come for you, is essential in your and my success. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it like this. Now be mindful, this is a man who is most distinguished than any other leader, religious, political, or otherwise on this earth. The reason is because this man literally claims that he met God, Allah, in person. This premise distinguishes the Honorable Elijah Muhammad from everybody. Every religious principle, this is what distinguishes the Nation of Islam from everybody, from Christians, Jews, other Muslims. We say, and our whole foundation and core principle is of the fact that we say the supreme being, God, came in person, not only met, but taught Elijah Muhammad. We challenge the world on this premise. And you will see why they don't want to talk to us about it in a few minutes. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said these words. He says, listen, I just want to teach you science. Did he say, I want to teach you some religious dogma? Did he say, I want to teach you something so you can believe and that's it? No, he said, I want to teach you science. Come on, brother. Well, what type of science are you trying to teach us, Mr. Muhammad? He said, I'm just grieved over that. Notice the messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, is kind of somewhat hurt because he's trying to teach a scientific wisdom from God to a people who do not think scientifically, especially when it comes to God. We have been so conditioned that we can think practically and logically about any and everything on this earth, but when it comes to God and religion, all logic, all practicality, all sense goes out of the window. All scientific reasoning is gone. So you are left with, I just believe. So I thank Brother Rodney for citing that ayat in the Holy Quran where Allah warns us to don't follow that which you have no knowledge. Allah wants you to believe, but he don't want you to be stupid. Hell. Don't follow that which you have no knowledge. And what have we been doing in religion? Following that which we have no knowledge. We just believe. So Elijah Muhammad is kind of upset, it seems, that he's been charged with this task by God of teaching his people the science of God to a people who've been conditioned not to even think when it comes to God. He said, I want to teach you the science which you should know. I want you to learn about the presence of God and the presence of his messenger. See, everybody believe in God. You got to tell black folks about believing in God. Even the thug, trapped out dude, man, that committed all kind of murders, deep down inside, he believed in God. Puma and them, oh yeah, they believe in God. He said, I want you to learn them the presence of God. Not just the belief, but you need to know something about the knowledge of God. Know something about his capabilities and his presence on scene for you. He says, I want you to learn them. Then, and really only then, can you battle if you want. So clearly there is a requisite knowledge that is needed in order to battle and overcome this, what seems to be an insurmountable enemy. In order for you to be successful, you got to know something about the real, true, and living God and his presence and the weaponry that he has on your and my behalf. That is the foundational knowledge that is what threatens the foundation of this entire world. This is why this whole topic of UFO, UAP is the topic that has been kept above top secret more than anything else. And it has everything to do with that man and the fact that he met God, who came and proved his power for us. All praise is due to Allah. Again, this is no dogma. As thinking people, as reasonably thinking people, you should really ask yourself, how is it that the Nation of Islam and our leadership, both the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his designated representative, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, have been the foremost at proclaiming their direct relationship to these aerial flying wheel-shaped planes and the power thereof, but yet none of our critics even challenge us on this topic? You should think about that, family. Minister Farrakhan for decades has been telling the world, it seems like every chance he gets, it seems, he's telling the world about the God of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the God that he serves that protects him. Now nobody, no leader that you can think of, black or white, has withstood the level of scrutiny, governmental surveillance, and targeted attacks as Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam has for over 90 years now. How do you explain the fact that we still here and thriving and rising with no arms? No, logically. How do you answer that? With logic, with truth. Now Farrakhan and Elijah Muhammad tell you we are protected by that God on that wheel. And those 1,500 smaller wheel-like planes that you call UFOs. But nobody want to deal with this. It gets to the point where for decades the nation has been challenging the government publicly to contend with this reality, only for the most powerful government and our powerful critics to keep running away from us. I want to play this one excerpt. This is from '89, where Minister Farrakhan was sharing information about his experience on that wheel, where he spoke with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who was supposed to be dead, by the way. We'll get into that later. Where some war plans, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad shared war plans of what was taking place with then President, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told Farrakhan on this wheel, you go and have a press conference and tell them all this stuff and tell the world, you got it from me, Elijah Muhammad, on the wheel. Minister Farrakhan did it. This is one of several press conferences where Minister Farrakhan recounts this episode, and in so doing, he literally challenges the world governments, if you would dare to contest or challenge him on this topic. Now, this was an international press conference, mind you. I want you to see some excerpts of Minister Farrakhan and the aftermath the next day of what took place right there in Washington, D.C.
Consequences of the wicked machinations of the United States government. You may come against me, which you are free to do, since we have no power to stop you. But I warn you that I am backed by the power of Allah and His Christ, and the power of that wheel in which I received this announcement. And the moment you attempt to lay your hands on me, the fullness of Allah's wrath will descend upon you and upon America. And before you will be able to establish your mockery of me, if that is what you wish to do, for what was revealed to me in the wheel, you will see these wheels, or what you call UFOs, in abundance over the major cities of America, and the calamities that America is presently
Yeah, the lights were described as moving rapidly and creating no sound.
And where's Doug?
Doug's investigating those.
What else could, okay, here's a cluster, hold right there. What would cause that?
Well, it could, of course, be a vapor trail from an airplane, and I'm sure somebody would claim it's a UFO, but I would not say it's that. You should turn to that as the last possible explanation, and I suspect that others can come up with a good explanation in meteorology.
All right, I don't know.
It's probably about 12 o'clock, and we saw these lights.
It sounded like a greenish, red, it kept changing colors.
It could have been well, but there were two separate incidents, and tonight what we saw had nothing to do with last night.
Hundreds of millions of dollars to identify just what and just who is in outer space.
They had watch parties all over the county, and every night out on the county roads, we've had hundreds of people out there sitting and watching them.
Despite the skeptics and official denial, there are more and more sightings of UFOs, and with the help of sophisticated new instruments, more and more evidence confirming those sightings.
I don't care how much degree you have, you can't defeat what I have. All you can do is bear me witness.
All right, y'all give it up for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Oh, yeah. All praise is due to Allah. Now, what we've noticed in that episode and several others where Minister Farrakhan literally, if in words, summoned these wheels to come out, and they showed up only for the media and government to try to act like nothing happened. And even though right there in D.C. where Minister Farrakhan gave the press conference, the following days, those wheels started coming out. It became public news where they ran segments in the news for days about trying to find out what these objects were. Well, we don't know what it is. We can't say it's a UFO, even though we don't know what it is, but we don't know, you know. But one thing they did not do, they made no reference to Minister Farrakhan, who right there in their city gave an international press conference and told you what to look for. It is the most avoided topic, the most unchallenged topic when it comes to religion, when it comes to politics, when it comes to educators and scholars, when it comes to science. They refuse to sit down and even engage us on this topic. And we know why. And I think as thinking people, you have an idea why too. Because if you truly and objectively engage this topic, there's no way you can reach this topic of UFOs and not lead you directly to the Nation of Islam, who was the first to bring this topic to the modern world. Oh, this is on record now. We're going to get into that. See, when you deal with a subject, when you come to the Nation of Islam, I told you, you're not dealing with religious dogma. And our position, when we argue and tell you about this topic, it's not limited to some, religious interpretation. Yes, it is rooted in the scriptures. It is rooted in the prophecies because it is the fulfillment of prophecy. But we don't come and just tell you what the scriptures mean and stuff like that and leave it at that. Because anybody can tell you, well, I think this ayat in the Quran means this, or this Bible verse means this, and we'll be arguing about interpretation all day. But when you include the empirical data, when you include the facts, the historical evidence, the scientific data, see, now you can't be limited to your religious interpretation. Now you have to deal with reality. So the Nation of Islam does not leave you with just scriptural interpretations. The Nation of Islam is all about offering you the actual facts. That's what we're known for. All praise is due to Allah. So this topic is of utmost concern. This has been a top priority, not just in America, but all throughout the world. In terms of government and military intelligence, this has been the top priority. What you don't know, or the people don't know, is that it's all about you. This whole UFO phenomenon directly connected to these black folks in America who have no clue that God has come for them. Even though they preach about it, they sang about it, oh, he's gonna come and he's coming back and all of this stuff. When he comes and has come, you don't see it because you in Spookville somewhere. You got an abstract spook God, so reality don't click with you too well. But this is such an important topic, and in truth, dear brothers and sisters, we would be negligent if we continue to overlook this. When I say we, I'm talking about our people, leaders, government, you name it. It is extremely negligent and hypocritical to try to keep ignoring this topic and trying to keep ignoring us. I'm talking to religious folk too. Muslim world, Muslim leaders, you got to deal with this. All of that Nation of Islam, they are not through Muslims, they do not teach through Islam. You need to come learn something from Elijah Muhammad and Farrakhan. We can teach you about some Islam. We'll let you teach Arab culture and Arab traditions. But if you want some Islam that can be verified, you come to the Nation of Islam. And I don't say that in a haughty spirit. I don't say that to sound arrogant. But the truth is, there is so much that God revealed to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that the world has overlooked. I mean, it's like we just missed him. The reason Minister Farrakhan is so adamant about his teacher and about this mission is because he knows and understands, look, we totally overlooked our salvation. We totally overlooked the medicine and the cure for our problems and our conditions because that cure, that medicine, that solution didn't come in the package we thought it should come in. We thought the package should have came looking like should have been a white man. Some of us thought the package should have come in Christian garb. Oh, if it ain't Christian, that can't be of God. Some thought the package should come appearing as the traditional Muslim, traditional way. But when you read in the Holy Quran, Allah tells us about this Messiah that Allah will teach. He's going to teach him the book, the Quran, the wisdom, the Torah, and the gospel. So clearly when Allah teaches this messianic one, the books that the people have already had, it's not going to be the same interpretations and understanding that the people have had all this time. So it will be a new Islam. It will seem strange. Ooh, my God. And so this is why the traditional world of religion hadn't quite got the Nation of Islam yet, because they want to put us in that category, and because we differ from their traditions, which is based on limited understanding, mind you. Now, because we conflict with some of your traditions, you think, oh, we're not Muslims. And because you really don't know your Quran, yeah. But anyway, let me move forward. It's negligent for us not to listen and not to pay attention and give ear to a subject matter like this. After all, countless billions of your taxpayer money has been going into studying this and trying to find ways to counteract these phenomenal crafts that fly over their so-called secure airspace. These phenomenal crafts that fly at all kinds of blinking speeds. These disc-shaped, wheel-shaped objects that has interfered with their most sophisticated nuclear weapons projects and shut down their weaponry. This is a major concern and has been such for several decades. So billions, perhaps trillions of money has gone to try to get into this. But you don't know nothing about it because it comes through the name of defense spending. It comes through black budgets. It comes through what they call exopolitical projects. That's a term I just learned over the last 2 years or so. Exopolitical basically refers to projects related to government stuff, but it can't be classified as a government project. It's really some stuff they're doing on the side. You see what I mean? They just found a good name for it. These are exopolitical projects, and yeah, we know what you're up to. But that has been going into looking into this. And I think have you all been checking the news out this past week? Yes, sir. Have y'all heard and seen how Congress, for the first time in nearly 50 years, is openly discussing and having hearings on the reality of these UFOs, aerial phenomena? Maybe that didn't come across your timeline. Yes, sir. Maybe who won the game last night? Right. Or hell, who can twerk the best? Maybe that's what came across your timeline. But, you know, anything to distract us, but this has been in the news. It's a major, major concern, and it has been the utmost concern of government and military intelligence. But they don't want you to know about it. So what this is the first public hearing that they had about it in Congress in about 50 years. Now, of course, they're only going to talk about so much in the public. And my thing is, you look crazy if you excluding the key witnesses. You talking about having conversations about UFOs in congressional hearings, and you admit in these hearings that they are a tremendous concern, a top concern of national security. And one of the reasons is because America, does not know the intent or purpose behind these crafts that are clearly eons superior than anything we can do, than anything we have. You see? So it's an utmost concern, but my thing is, how you gonna have a talk about UFOs and these planes that the Nation of Islam introduced you to, and you don't invite the Nation of Islam? What's up with that, man? You don't invite the key witnesses to give testimony in a trial that involves the key witness? Clearly, you're trying to hide something. I mean, think about that. You are a key witness. You are the key witness in some incident that has impacted the world. And then when they bring this incident to court or investigate the incident, you as the key witness are the main person left out. And then in the court or whatever, they acting like they trying to find out. We don't know what happened. We don't know what these things are. We don't know anything. I mean, all we know is that they fly around and they interfere with our projects, but golly, I tell you. And the key witness like, what's up? Well, I'm right here. Bring me to court. Or as Minister Farrakhan boldly said, hell, bring me before Congress. Subpoena me. Hell. You mean I can't even get you to subpoena me? Think about that, a black man trying to get subpoenaed, and they won't even subpoena you. That's a hell of a thing right there. Hell, they'll subpoena you for something you ain't got nothing to do with. But you as the key witness, as the key proponent of this subject matter, you are deliberately left out. And so I say this, like I said, Brother Bridge, I say it all the time, trying to, or not including the Nation of Islam in UFO discussions is like excluding the Nation of Islam when discussing the history of the bean pie. You're going to talk about bean pies and the history of the bean pies and all of this, but you're going to leave out the Nation of Islam that brought you the bean pie. Come on, man. And hold up. I know that sounds a bit funny, but they doing it. You know Martha Stewart made the bean pie, right? Oh, y'all think I'm playing? Based on this article, Martha Stewart made the bean pie a few years ago. You black Muslims ain't had nothing to do with this. But if you look at Martha Stewart, we're going to get these nice navy beans and we're going to put it together. She got sister's recipe. So if you want to get bean pies, don't go to Chicago. Don't get Supreme Bean Pie. Don't go to the brother on the street. Don't holler at Sister Connie and Sister Dietrich and them. No, you go to Martha Stewart. But you see just how blatant this thing is. So we should ask ourselves, why now? See, in the last 3 years or so, now it's just now coming forward publicly that the U.S. government, the Pentagon, and the defense have just now acknowledged UFOs. They just officially acknowledged that these planes exist after 70 years, 70 or more years of lying on both UFOs and the Nation of Islam. So what you as thinking brothers and sisters should ask yourselves is why now? Why they gonna come up, they've been lying all these years. Why is there the first official admission to these planes? From a government standpoint, that just happened like last year, 2021, where it was made official. Yeah. So why would they do that after all these years of lying? This is what gives all the signs of a government intelligence operation called a limited hangout. Y'all ever heard of that? I didn't hear about that term until maybe about a year or two ago. But a limited hangout is a common government and military intelligence tactic where they'll admit some of the truth about something while still managing to withhold the most key and damaging facts of the case. See, they'll reveal a little bit of the truth about something, but they'll use the little bit of the truth that they admit to mislead you away from the bigger truth. You see? That's what all of this is right here. So they'll give you a little truth and they'll make some acknowledgments and some admissions. Yes, it's true, these planes do exist, in order to get you to buy in and actually think that they're actually being transparent now. So when the public believes that the government is actually transparent, now the government will pull like a bait and switch kind of thing. Well, we admit that they're true, and they'll come up with something like, well, actually we found out that these were part of a secret government program all along, You see how they'll try to do it? Or they'll try to give the credit to some damn aliens that don't exist from somewhere. Anything to keep you from getting to the source of this phenomena, which is going to have to lead you to the Nation of Islam. It used to be a time several years ago, even as late as the 90s and early 2000s even. But prior to then, it used to be a time when people used to mock the Nation of Islam for this teaching. Yeah. Not the scientists, not the people who know, but you know, regular people. Oh, y'all niggas believe in spaceships and all that kind of stuff, you know. How the hell gonna be a big plane that big that fly in the sky? Man, y'all crazy as hell, you know. Oh, we got that for years. Y'all talking about these little circular flying saucers and shit. Man, please, y'all get out of here with that. That's okay. But now that and it's interesting because now that all the evidence proves that everything Elijah Muhammad taught about this is right and exact, now they don't even bring it up anymore. Hey, wasn't you the one back in the day that was saying we were crazy as hell for believing in these flying wheel-shaped planes? And I don't know anything about that. See? Won't even talk to us. But again, this is signs of what they call a limited hangout. That's when they give you some truth, some of the facts, but they use their little facts and truth that they give you to mislead you away from the most damaging facts and the most damaging truth. And what is that damaging truth? The fact that the Nation of Islam and the God of the Nation of Islam is responsible for these wheel-shaped planes that you call UFOs. Now, this is Professor Michael Lee. He's a Jewish professor emeritus out of the University of Chicago. He ain't paid by the Nation of Islam, but as a Jewish scholar, an academic scholar, mind you, not necessarily just a scholar of religion, but he's an educator, an academic. And in studying this phenomena, his objective studies led to the Nation of Islam. Now, there's something that he knows as a learned Jewish person, because in the Jewish traditions, they are well aware of all those prophecies of God's coming upon this big wheel-shaped plane with his other flying chariots, or wheels as they are called. The Jewish rabbis and clerics are very familiar with all those prophecies. So an intellectual like him, studying this UFO phenomena from a Judaic perspective, his studies led him to the Nation of Islam. And it was Professor Michael Lee who stated that it was this mother plane, all this UFO talk, it was the mother plane is the vehicle to which Elijah Muhammad first bore witness at the very outset of his career. What? So you mean to tell me some of these scholars in secret are telling you who this where this UFO phenomena comes from? Oh. Elijah Muhammad is the one to first bear witness to this thing. Right. He's not paid by the Nation of Islam. However, I do have much respect for Professor Michael Lee, because not only as an academic and as a Jew, he was actually the first one to give a public review of my book, UFOs and the Nation of Islam. Tremendous respect. And you know what he said in this review? I'll publish it again. He said he straight up bowed down and bore witness. He was like, man, everything you were saying is just powerful. He said, I wish that you had published your research before I wrote my book. He's the author of Children of Ezekiel, which is a good book. I would recommend you get it too. So he and others like him, they are very well aware. He's just one of the few, and this is why I have respect for Professor Lee, is because he's one of few scholars in the world who will openly admit and acknowledge the inherent relationship between UFOs and the Nation of Islam. That's where it all started. So since I have some people in here, and there are many of us who may not be as familiar with the Nation of Islam's teaching as it relates to these crafts, you hear us in the nation call them the wheels and baby planes and things like that. That's because we have been familiar with these planes for years. They've never been unidentified to us. But those who are learning and studying, or if you're critics, that's perfectly fine. I want to give just a quick overview of what the Nation of Islam teaches on this. First of all, as I stated earlier, we recognize that Elijah Muhammad was literally taught by God in person. That's our distinguishing factor, right? Whether you believe that or not, the fact is Elijah Muhammad said he was taught by God in person, who came in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad. He is this human being who embodies the force, spirit, power, wisdom of God to the fullest. And that human being taught Elijah Muhammad for 3.5 years. Not only did he teach him, and by the way, that's in your Quran where Allah, he will teach this Messiah, the book and the wisdom. Another story for another time. But he taught Elijah Muhammad and physically showed him this huge wheel in the sky with its 1,500 accompanying smaller wheel-shaped planes. Master Farrakhan Muhammad literally pointed out, brought Elijah Muhammad out, this is it right here, see? And taught him, gave him all the intricate details about these planes, why they are here, what they are for, what they can do, how they will help you at a certain time. In fact, the people, not aliens, but the people who are considered angels or scientists that operate many of these smaller vessels that they call UFOs, they are scientists. They are people like us with extraordinary capabilities. Elijah Muhammad claims to have known some of them personally. And he made this public. But you mean you don't hear nothing about that when you hear about the Nation of Islam? Oh, they gonna say y'all niggas killed Malcolm and that's it. Anything to try to keep y'all from finding out the truth, huh? Man, go eat some bean pies or something, man. Y'all get out of here with that. So what's interesting is that this is central to the Nation of Islam. This is the very core, but they don't talk about the very core. But anyway, so God comes, raises this one Elijah Muhammad, teaches him personally, and makes him his special messenger, makes him his special designated anointed representative to teach this truth and lay the foundation of what will ultimately become the new world. That's what this Nation of Islam is. But when it comes to this teaching of the wheel, this is a super capsulated, truncated, microwave version of what this entails. This is from Message to the Black Man. In a chapter called The Battle in the Sky is Near, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, the present wheel-shaped plane, known as the mother of planes, is 1/2 mile by 1/2 mile and is the largest mechanical man-made object in the sky. Did he say it was made on Mars or anything like that? It was made right here on this earth by humans. Was it an operation that was publicized? No. This was an operation headed by Master Farrakhan Muhammad and a host of others. Some of them working under him were these scientists or angels, and under them were countless thousands of others who had no idea of what this project would be. These were people mostly in the East, Japan area, who knew something about engineering and metallurgy, and they had jobs to do. They didn't know nothing about what this project would ultimately become. You know, so like, this is a real project now. This ain't no spooky stuff. Ooh, no, God is real. But it's a man-made object, the largest man-made object in the sky. It is literally a small human planet made for the purpose of destroying the present world of the enemies of Allah. You're talking about that great battle in the sky, right? We talk about those scriptures of God coming, and he would use his weapons to save his people and protect his people and bring down and render judgment on his enemies. How is God going to do that? He gives you glimpses of it in the Bible and Holy Quran. He speaks heavily about his aerial vehicles operating through the cloud by day, appearing to seem as a pillar of fire by night, referred to as his throne of power, as his arsh in the Holy Quran that sits above the waters, referred to as his chariots of fire, his flying chariots of fire that spin like whirlwinds. Oh, so all of this in the scriptures, but we just blank as hell when it comes to reality. I mean, Elijah Muhammad right here showing you, look, this is here. It's made for the purpose of destroying the present world of Allah, God's enemies. See, somebody has to be shown the arm and power of God in order for him to stand up like that. You wonder why Elijah Muhammad and Louis Farrakhan can say what nobody else is willing to say without fear of consequences, can speak truth to power, to government, to the most powerful Jews who run government, where everybody else with all their money and resources run like hell when it comes to that. You got this great battle of Farrakhan standing on the truth that was given and revealed to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, out there damn near by themselves, hearkening to the world that God is present. It is because they have seen the arm of God, and they are standing on that, and that's why can't nobody do or say what they do. The cost to build such a plane is staggering. Yes, there was cost involved. God ain't about slavery. People were paid, and they were paid well. It was what I would call, I don't know if I want to use the term clandestine operation, because normally clandestine kind of suggests that it's something sinister afoot. But it's a very secretive construction and build. People didn't know what was going on. They could have thought it was okay, they probably making some little vehicles or something. We don't know. But it was taking place, and they were paid well. He said the finest brains were used to build it. Not aliens, not spooks, but people. It is capable of staying in outer space 6 to 12 months at a time without even coming into the Earth's gravity. It carried 1,500 bombing planes with the most deadliest explosives. So 1,500 smaller wheel-shaped planes that are literally military aircraft. Yes, sir. This is why throughout the scriptures in the Bible, God is referred to as the Lord of hosts. I used to hear that all the time. I didn't know what the hell it meant, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. The Lord of hosts. Y'all remember hearing that term in the Bible? It's mentioned several times, especially throughout the Old Testament, but it comes from a Hebraic term, Yahuwah Sabah, which literally means the Lord of armies. That's why you see God depicted upon his throne up in the sky, in the book of Isaiah and other places, and his angels are flanking him. He's the Lord of hosts. He's the Lord of armies. He got a crew with him. Shoot, that's the kind of God I want. I don't know about y'all, but he has to show his power and his ability to overcome Satan and his world. He uses not only this, but he uses the forces of nature. It's all on his side. He is Rabbil Alameen, the Lord of all the worlds. The world includes the natural world, the insect world, the animal world, metals, mechanics. Man, he's the Lord of the worlds. It carried 1,500. So this is a quick overview of what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches and what the Nation of Islam teaches about these planes. Most interesting to know is that this information was being taught by the Nation of Islam before there were any concerns about UFOs. Before there was ever even a term, unidentified flying object. Before the term flying saucers even became a thing, Elijah Muhammad and the early Nation of Islam was already teaching about this. So much that it seemed crazy as heck. You got Elijah Muhammad talking about this mother plane and her work. Remember, he was shown this thing. He's not just talking about some abstract stuff that he just believed. He was shown the arm of God. He said the mother plane and her work is a display of the power of the mightiest God, Master Farrakhan Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever. The mightiest. See, people have different gods, whether you call it that or not. If you bow down to America, that's your God. You bow down to hell, money, that's your God. You bow down to sex, that's your God. You don't say it like that. You don't say there's no God but sex and all, you know. No, you don't do it like that. But your actions, because that's what you fear. That's the way you live. That's what you literally bow down to. So he's saying that the mightiest God, that's a war term, might, strength. It's a display of God's proof and presence. What you see right there is a clip from that famous UFO incident from 1997 called the Phoenix Lights. If you never heard of it, make sure you look it up. We've dealt with it before. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that lone voice, unlike other religious folk talking about prosperity gospels and all of that and some heaven you're going to go to after you die somewhere, Elijah Muhammad is telling you reality, preparing you for this battle in the sky, the one all your scriptures point to. He says today we see the white race preparing for the sky battle to determine who shall remain and rule this earth, black or white. Elijah Muhammad didn't use no fancy words and see the sophisticated war strategy. No, he just said straight up. Allah says of Muhammad, he is a plain warner. Not coming to give you all this hoopla. Look, today, the white race who is in charge is preparing for that battle in the sky, which they know is coming. See, we are so dead, we're abstract, but those who rule, they've always known that God would intervene in your and my affairs, which is why they've always wanted to keep that knowledge away from us, because in their mind, this is the devil you're dealing with. They think they're going to battle God and they think they can win. All your scriptures show you that. Pharaoh thought he could battle God and win. Herod, he thought he could outdo God. All these rulers and whatnot, even after seeing the clear signs of God, they still have that dumb, devilish mindset. Well, I think I can take these UFOs out. You admit, well, they're clearly eon superior than anything we've ever seen, and we don't know the intent or purpose, but I think we can take it out. What do you say, Jim? That's how they think. You don't think like that because you're the people of God. You and I just been misinformed and kept away from the battle in the sky, which has both a literal and figurative meaning. It's the battle in the sky because it is literally over our heads. Hello, you like that pun? Anybody catch on to that? No, really. It's over the people's heads. We worried about who won the game last night. We worried about paying the next bill. We worried about how our baby's going to eat the next few days. We worried about getting little Pooh Man them out of jail. So with all of these things keeping us bogged down, there's something taking place well above our heads. That is the battle in the sky. So the masses of the people have no idea as to what we're talking about right now. Some of you seem shocked as hell. You done came to visit the mosque for the first time. You're like, what the hell these people are talking about? Man, I thought I was going to go and hear a nice khutbah and, they were going to, man, they over here talking about some damn spaceships and stuff. No, it's just real, fam. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad made it very plain, and this is what, see, it's over our heads because those in power are well aware as to the time. They are well aware of the prophecies, not from a religious standpoint like most of us would look at it, but they know throughout history that there has always been a time when God would intervene. And they know what they have done to us. They understand the condition that we've been through with over 400 years of slavery and servitude and oppression. And they knew God is going to intervene. This is why Thomas Jefferson, during slavery, said, what's the word? He said, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, and his justice cannot sleep forever. So the founding fathers, who were enlightened men, by the way, they knew something of these prophecies. These were Shriners and Freemasons and whatnot. They know something about who you are. They know something about who this Hiram is, and you, the black man, who is the builder, but who have been put to sleep because you've been hit in the head by these ruffians, Jubilee, Jubilo, and Jubilum, and taken off to a northwest and buried in a shallow grave. A people who were once the master builders of the world and civilizations, who are now rendered in a dead-like state. But according to those secret societies, there's only somebody, a special person with the master grip, who can raise this dead man out of his grave. I know who that person is. We call him Master Farrakhan Muhammad, with the master grip that can raise this black man out of his mental and spiritual death. So those founding fathers, these enlightened men who knew something about you under all that symbolism, they knew a day is going to come when God is going to intervene. Not some spook. So the best thing we can do is keep these niggas, you know, in a condition, in a beast-like state, pardon my crude language, but keep them in such a savage, cruel-like state. I don't care how much money we give them. We can give them $1 billion. As long as they out there making it rain and twerking and stuff, oh, they're not going to raise from the dead like that. Hell, I'll give you a contract and give you $50 million as long as you act a fool. But they've always known that God is coming because they know the prophecies better than us. So the God that they knew was coming, this anomaly that they always trembled and knew was going to come, has come. For it is written, for you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so comes as a thief in the night. So when God comes, he's not going to come the way Hollywood portrays, where he's going to come all of a sudden and he's going to bump up on the cloud and be on YouTube and have some theme music. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. I am here, my children. Welcome me. I am your God. Come with me. Believe me. No, it don't work like that. No, when God comes, he's going to come to a place where the conditions are such that he has to come and reclaim his lost and dead people. So he's going to come like a thief in the night. Oh, my God. So a thief doesn't come and announce himself, does he? If a man going to come and rob your house, the best thing he want to do, he want to take what he wants and leave without you even knowing he's been there. He want to make sure that it's way after the fact before you look, you know what, where's my necklace? God damn, somebody done stole my necklace. It's probably weeks later. Thief gone, done pawned it and everything. But God comes like a thief in the night. Scripture says he comes without observation, so he's not coming making a big fuss over things. He's slipping in because the enemy knows that he's coming and they looking out for him. That's why they set all these laws in place in the early, not only during slavery, but even afterwards. And in the early 1900s, the Mann Act and all these other acts and policies to make sure that nobody comes, especially you black folks, in and out of the country without us knowing, because they were expecting. This is why when they saw Marcus Garvey rising, they did what they did to stop his movement. This is why when they saw our brother, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, doing certain things, they had to stop that. But God came like a thief in the night. He would come, he would be sent. The originator already had him in mind. He would be prepared in sinful flesh to condemn sin in the flesh. He would come in the most sinful flesh. looking like a white man to condemn the sin that the white man has enacted all over the world. This is the wisdom of God. This is how God slips in to save his people. He's giving you hints all in the prophecies, not in such a way where you can just see directly, oh, okay, that's him. But no, he's going to slip in to save his people. How did he do it? It's in disguise. This is why in the Holy Quran, Allah is often referred to as the unseen. Al-Ghaib. The unseen. It's not that he cannot be seen, but he chooses not to be seen. But at a certain point, Allah says in the Quran that there will be a time when they will look to their Lord. Ooh, y'all make me want to preach right about now, man. But this is the God that has come, just as he said he would. Where is he going to come? There are other prophecies in Matthew, for as light shineth from the east, even unto the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Did it say son of a spirit? No. Did it say son of an angel? No. Son of what? Son of man. Son of man. Real. Going to be in human flesh, as all the prophecies foretell. That's why even in the Holy Quran, Allah tells us in Surah Ar-Rahman that all things eventually will pass away, but there will endure forever the person of thy Lord. There will always be a person of thy Lord. Huh, Brother Irwin? It says al-wajah, a form, a person, a countenance, a face. You want to learn some Islam, you might want to come here. So where is this God going to come? From the east, even unto the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the eagles are gathered, there shall the carcass lie. This man, Master Farrakhan Muhammad, comes from the east, born in the holy city of Mecca. But it was his duty, his mission, to come and save his people. Here, lost in the west, as the east, from the east to the west, like lightning. Lightning goes like that, it's blinking. That's another story that I could get into, but I don't want to take too much time. But it even gives other hints as to where this Son of Man, this God in person, would arrive. It says, for as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the great fish, so will the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. He was among us and taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for a little better than 3.5 years, almost 3.5 years. He came without observation, in sinful flesh, like a thief in the night, and he taught Elijah Muhammad the secrets of the universe. Taught and showed Elijah Muhammad things that sounded crazy as hell in 1931. Only to find that decades later, everything he taught would be verified, confirmed, and corroborated by science and empirical data. I'm talking about Elijah Muhammad, the man that said he met God in person. Huh? This God who would come to the heart of the earth. What's the heart of the earth? See, the heart is what pumps the blood, that allows the blood to circulate throughout the body. So that blood, whatever blood goes through the heart, it goes and circulates and influences the rest of the body. What is America? America influences the whole world. American English, American business, American culture, American military, all over the world. It's the world's superpower. But not only is it the heart of the earth, but do you know that in 1930 what the heart of America was? Y'all ever heard Motown, Detroit? Where all these factories was, it was the industrial heart of America at that time. That's why Chevrolet and General Motors, they call Chevrolet the heartbeat of America. It was during this particular period in American history that some of the scholars said that if Detroit were to sneeze, all of America would catch a cold. Because it is the heart of America, which is the heart of the earth. So this Son of Man, this God in person, would arrive just where he needed to be in Detroit, Michigan in 1930. Boy, it's something when you right there and just seeing the prophecies live out right before your eyes. So the God that they had been looking for, that even our enemies knew was coming and would intervene in our affairs, has come. Again, this is the distinguishing thing from the Nation of Islam. What did he come? He came and taught Elijah Muhammad and showed him these things before these UFO phenomena ever became a thing or an issue. They even called us a voodoo cult because they had never, this is 1930s now, ain't nobody ever heard of anything like this, flying ships made like a wheel. There were no major sightings at that time. In fact, the wheel, so teaches the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, did not lift off from the Earth's atmosphere until 1929. And this is why you don't have any credible cases of these type of UFOs prior to then. None. No major government reports, no mass sightings, none. Think I'm lying? Y'all can think, you can Google, you can research. Now there were some things people saw, but it wasn't these wheels objects, talking about balloons and all that, and you know, people have seen things that's unidentified forever. But this phenomena, that came after Master Farrakhan Muhammad brought this to the world. So this was a strange teaching. And the Nation of Islam, even in the early 1930s, was causing so much trouble, in a good way, against white authority that white authorities, police and everybody had to investigate. What are these Muslims up to? Who's responsible for these people standing up and acting like they know God or something? They ain't never seen black folks with the bold audacity as been exhibited by the Nation of Islam. And this is in the early 30s. This is pretty much during Jim Crow, damn near. And you got these black folks standing up talking about, yeah, we the people of God, we are gods, and all of this. Talking about, and Elijah Muhammad showing this spaceship and talking about, man, that sound crazy as hell in the 30s. To the point where they labeled us a voodoo cult. And they arrested and called in Master Farrakhan Muhammad, who was behind all these thousands of black folk with knowledge of self, standing up in ways that white authority had never seen before. So they had questioned and interrogated Master Farrakhan Muhammad, and he told them straight up who he was. See, you find this throughout your scriptures where God often shows even his enemies certain signs and things about himself, some things that he don't even share to the people he comes to save. Because he even gives the enemy the opportunity to do right. He's merciful. He's Rahman or Rahim, the beneficent and merciful. He's giving everybody the chance now. So even those in authority, I'll tell you this, I'll show you this. We'll see how you act. But naturally, they thought maybe something was wrong with him because he told them that he was the supreme ruler of the universe. That's what he told detectives in the 30s now, early 30s. And because of his light, white-looking skin, they were like, oh, get out of here. Now, had he been dark, you see, had he not been in that type of sinful flesh, oh, they would have threw him under the jail, you see? So God knows best where to place his message now. So the authority was like, oh, get out of here with that. Go somewhere else with that. Don't come teaching these niggers that stuff, you see? But as a result, he is on record, both police record, historical record, and even in the printed reports in the newspapers, as stating who he was back in the 30s. I'm Allah. I'm the supreme ruler of the universe. So he put it on record, so it looked crazy as hell then. Now, years and decades later, when all that he taught manifests and comes into fruition, now they look back and be like, damn, he was like a thief in the night. We missed him. Oh, I'm telling you. So that's what he told the people at the police station. And as a result, we were considered a voodoo cult. Authorities referred to the Nation of Islam as a voodoo cult. This is from a report in the 1930s by E.D. Bainan, a sociological report, because the Nation of Islam was capturing so much attention. They don't tell you about the Nation of Islam in the 30s and 40s. You know, they like to tell you our history. But the Nation of Islam was making big moves in the 30s and 40s to the point where U.S. authorities were like, oh, what the hell are these people? Oh, yeah. So the authorities labeled us a voodoo cult, and they said in their reports, as a result of the teachings of this cult, you see they called us a cult, they have gained a new conception of themselves and regard themselves as superior rather than an inferior to other people. See, it's something about this strange teaching because nobody had ever taught this kind of teaching before. The Nation of Islam is on record. See, that's why they don't want to deal with us. I'm talking about the scholars. We make these bold claims that wasn't nobody teaching this about these planes you worried about before the Nation of Islam. Why won't nobody challenge us? You know they don't like us. You know they don't agree with us. You know they say all manner of things about us. We are not true Muslims. We are not following Jesus. We condemn the hell, all that kind of stuff. Why won't they just, have a dialogue with us? Show us where we're wrong in this regard. But since you can't, you just shut up about it. So that was in the 1930s. They pretty much disregarded the nation as a voodoo cult because there were no mass sightings at that time. There were no major government concerns. People weren't necessarily seeing these wheels like that, let alone the big mother wheel. But then in 1942, almost 10 years later, something happened where the U.S. Armed Forces, for perhaps the first time, actually encountered this huge circular UFO that was up in the clouds above LA. It caught their attention so much that there was a huge unidentified object up in the clouds above LA on February 25th, 1942, that rendered the U.S. Armed Forces to commit a blackout, shut the whole LA Santa Monica area down, and came out to try to intercept this unknown object. And there was some other reported smaller objects that were moving at having erratic movements. The U.S. Armed Forces literally fired over 1,400 rounds of their heaviest anti-aircraft artillery at the time. They spent hours trying to shoot at this thing that was up in the clouds, and you can't necessarily see it clearly right there on this authentic video from 1942. You see the lights, the military lights going up there, and you see some little dots. This is the anti-aircraft being shot at this object up in the clouds, and the object does not budge. So you see the little lights popping where their artillery is exploding as it's reaching. Seems like it's hitting the clouds. This alarmed the hell out of the U.S. government and military. It rendered so much damage. Some people died as a result of like a heart attack in LA. It left damage because all that shrapnel came down. And the president, Franklin D. Roosevelt, was heavily alarmed at the time. This became known historically as the Battle of Los Angeles, or the battle over Los Angeles, sometimes called an air raid over Los Angeles. And we're talking about the battle in the sky, right? Sure. So Allah literally comes to show a portion of his power to see how they will act. Their conclusion, the U.S. military, who fired all these things, the superior technology at the time, at this unknown craft and the smaller ones that were moving, it didn't do anything to this craft at all. It was as if this big circular object was there just to make a statement that a new power is present in the world. That's pretty much what it was, Brother Danny. After a few hours of nothing being done to this huge craft sitting up in the cloud, the craft just went on by, just left. As if to say, look, I'm here. I'm here. I showed you. You know what I can do, and you know what you can't do to me. Huh? So interesting that it took place on February 25th, the eve of Savior's Day, 1942. I think God is trying to tell us something. I think God was trying to tell them something. So the enemy knows something. So this alarm, you have a clearly superior technology that you couldn't do nothing with, America. America was so messed up that General George Marshall and President Roosevelt and the U.S. intelligence at that time went on an all-out investigation to try to find out what the hell was this object that we couldn't bring down. What on earth or the heavens above was this object that is eons superior than anything we could even deal with or imagine? That's right. So in their investigations, naturally, they wanted to see if it was perhaps a foreign adversary, like Japan or Germany or somebody, but they knew it could not have been a foreign adversary, because if a foreign adversary had that kind of capabilities, they could have easily taken out America, right? So in their research, all of their investigations and documents led to the only group who was on record for teaching about these things. So the FBI, under the executive decision of Roosevelt's administration, literally arrested the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and 80 plus other members of the Nation of Islam. And guess what the FBI did when they arrested him? Questioned him. Asked him, what do you think they questioned him about? Yes. So you mean to tell me that the FBI, the world superpower, arrests an unarmed black man and 80 plus more of his followers, and they ask the leader, Elijah Muhammad, they're interrogating him about a plane that don't exist? They're going to send forth all of their U.S. armed forces at the time to shoot over 1,400 rounds of anti-aircraft artillery at something that didn't exist? Huh? See, God is real today, man. This ain't no spook stuff here. This is the reality of God. And so all of their investigations led them to arrest not your preacher, not some political leaders, not even necessarily any foreign adversaries as it relates to this. They arrested Elijah Muhammad and questioned him about the wheel. And you know what? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad tells us about when they arrested him and what they asked him about. He states this. These are the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's words. It's also on audio too, but I'm going to read it. He states from the Theology of Time, he says, write in the paper if you want, and tell the devil what I'm telling you. Look, that's an instruction, by the way. He's telling you, if you don't believe me, write it in the paper. Or in this case, put it on YouTube. Broadcast it. Tell the devil, tell the government what I'm telling you about this wheel. And he said, see if he'll try to deny it. See if the enemy will try to deny it. I try to follow those instructions. Elijah Muhammad told us to publicize it and see if the devil will deny it. But they keep running from us though, huh? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, they know it's out there. He said, I sat down and I talked with them years ago about it. He's talking about the FBI officials. They asked me questions. They have the drawing on a blackboard that they'd taken from us when they arrested us. And I had drawn the plane and written explanations on the blackboard, and they took it to the FBI office. See, when they arrested the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and they came and arrested those brothers and sisters out of the mosque, they took the evidence. The messenger would keep these drawings about the wheel. Remember, this is central and core to the Nation of Islam theology. He would have drawn on the blackboard, the wheel and explanations about the wheel. Hell, the FBI office took the whole damn blackboard and took it to the office. Now, again, see, this is not even, you can't interpret stuff like this. See, you can't argue with stuff that's actually historical record. So you can see why they'll never, ever have an intelligent dialogue with us about this. Because the more you investigate, the more you think about, the more you analyze and study this topic, you will ultimately have to bear witness that Elijah Muhammad had to have met the Supreme Being. It's hard not to, y'all, because it's too much evidence. It's too, you know what, it takes more energy. It takes more cognitive energy to try not to disbelieve than it is to just accept the clear and evident truth. This is why Allah in the Holy Quran says that he granted his Messiah with clear arguments. Clear. See, some stuff you can argue with certain things that's interpretation, but some things are clear. It's on record. You might not like it, but you can't argue with it. So all this evidence, Elijah Muhammad, Louis Farrakhan, and Nation of Islam, we ain't got no resources. Look at us, look at the building we in, right? We ain't booming like that. The only thing we have is the truth. That's what we stand on. And can't nobody deal with us with that. So the messenger said they took the blackboard to the office and they have it there today. They know this to be true and they admitted to me that it is true. So the FBI admitted to Elijah Muhammad after the Battle of Los Angeles, damn, you know we encountered this thing. And so they asked and interrogated him heavily about this will. And he told them exactly. He didn't cut no, he told them exactly what was up. Yes, this is the result of Allah in person. I was taught by Allah. You thought he was some crazy man. Master Father Muhammad. Yeah. And don't you know, since then, the Nation of Islam and Elijah Muhammad had continued, and Minister Farrakhan to this day, continued surveillance as it relates to this UFO phenomenon. He said, they admitted to me that this is true. But you know what they did? They arrested him, and as a result, they locked the Honorable Elijah Muhammad up. He was in jail for about 5 years, y'all. Because they did not want him teaching this truth, especially while America was prosecuting a war overseas. So they locked him up. So here's a man who suffered for us. Suffered because of this truth. An unarmed man. He wasn't charged with nothing criminal. They tried to use a false pretext, well, he's draft dodging or something. No. Too old. He was too old even for the draft at the time. So he was locked up. And during that time he was locked up, this is officially the beginning of what became the worldwide UFO cover-up. That's what all the secret is about. That's what all the above top secret stuff pertaining to these planes is about. It has everything to do with the Nation of Islam and the fact that God has come for his people just like he said he would. So, do you think the enemy, those in power, would even want the public to have an idea that there is a power on scene that is more superior than theirs? You see? See, that's what a bully has to do. The bully can't let you know anything, can't let you know that you got to actually have backup. Because if you knew if you had backup, you would act different. You would think different. You would live different. You see? And so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on these because we're going to get ready and close out. But literally, the Nation of Islam is on record, government record and historical record, as the first and remain the only ones to teach with truth the actual details about these crafts that they call unidentified aerial phenomena. All throughout the FBI files, we see where they're asking and trying to find out stuff about these wheels Elijah Muhammad's talking about. And remember when the messenger said they took the blackboard and some of his handwriting stuff that he had drawn and written about the wheel? You know, the FBI mentioned in their Elijah Muhammad files that they will continue efforts to obtain handwriting specimens of the subject for transmission to the FBI laboratory. Elijah Muhammad knew exactly what he was talking about. Got so important in the FBI files. Now be mindful, as I'm studying and researching the FBI files, these are just the files that are declassified. Declassified means, okay, this is what we'll let the public know. Most of what they have is classified. So the declassified is probably only a fraction of what the actual classified files have. You get that? But even in the declassified files, they are so enamored with Elijah Muhammad and his teaching of God and these wheels and the destructive capabilities and potential that they have, that at a certain point they beg that, you know, if they beg the State Department and if the CIA would help them out when it comes to this figure, Elijah Muhammad. Now, they know who Elijah Muhammad is. That's right. They know he's the most powerful black man in America, just as they know who Farrakhan is. Right. But we, see, I told you, we missed him. We totally overlooked him. See, we look at, oh, that's just a man. That's just a man teaching that religious stuff. That's a man teaching some mythology. That's a man teaching that stuff. That's not true Islam. You see? So we literally castigated and threw this man aside, and in doing so, we threw out the wisdom, the medicine, and the guidance that Allah gave him for your and my salvation, man. So the enemy is clear on who he is, and they want to make sure you never ever find out who he is, or his national representative, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So they are involved in what is called a conspiracy of silence. Y'all ever heard that term before? Again, don't feel bad. This is one of those terms I just became familiar with somewhat recently myself. But a conspiracy of silence is basically kind of like another strategy, much like a limited hangout. It's a strategy where a collective group, it's a collective behavior where they agree collectively that they're not going to speak about certain things. So government and different agencies, be it FBI, be it CIA, be it State Department, be it Homeland Security, be it local police departments, hell, local Board of Education, be it whatever entity, there's this subtly agreed thing that certain topics we don't talk about. Conspiracy of silence. And you wonder why the most important core part of the Nation of Islam is never discussed in public. Even though the nation discusses it all the time. Minister Farrakhan tells you every chance he gets about this wheel and the God of this wheel and all of that, but as much critique and as much scrutiny as the Nation of Islam undergoes, they never talk about this. It is a conspiracy of silence. You can't talk about it. We cannot pay people to talk about this with us. That's real. As a student of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan and as the author of UFOs and the Nation of Islam and as part of his research staff and one of the lead personnel as it relates to topics like this, Minister Farrakhan, you know, wanted me to reach out to many of these people who study UFOs, UFO researchers and ufologists as they are called, to let them know that they have a voice in us. We can disclose, information about this, and we will stand up for you to government. We're talking about white, black, it doesn't matter. There are people who want to know the truth. Minister Farrakhan wanted me to reach out to these different groups and persons to let them know they have a voice in him and in us. We're with you. We will help you when it comes to government disclosure. Unfortunately, what I found is that almost every avenue, they don't want to talk about it. Even, especially the mainstream, and believe me, I've reached out. All your major politicians, all your major journalists who will cover this subject, as long as they don't include the Nation of Islam, I've reached out to them. In some cases, several times. And like, damn, they feel like a troll. I'll be on Twitter emailing them and stuff like, hey, I represent Brother Farrakhan. We can help out on this. I'm going to deal with this. It's conspiracy of silence. And as I prepare to end, I just want to admit again and acknowledge that it is extremely hypocritical to keep overlooking this topic. Even, and perhaps especially from a religious perspective. Because again, all of your religious scriptures, all of the prophecies of the Torah, the Gospels, the Holy Quran, speak of God operating in and through his heavenly vessels that somehow fly and operate from the sky. So you can't call yourself a Christian and overlook this. Because throughout the Bible and the New Testament, it speaks of this New Jerusalem, this city of the living God in both Revelation and Galatians. In the book of Galatians, it talks about this New Jerusalem, which is above. It is free from the corruption of this world, free from the stupidity of this world, but it's a place that is free, and it is considered the mother of us all. Hello, somebody. We're talking about that mother wheel, that mother plane. Come on now. It is also referred to in the book of Hebrew as the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem. You mean God has a dwelling place? Yes, sir. See, the reason God has this throne, one of the reasons, is one, it's a weapon. It's a warship, literally. But it also serves as the office space, somewhat, of God, for lack of a better term. That's why it's referred to as his throne often. You read in the Bible, in the Gospels, about Jesus' transfiguration, and God communicates with him from a cloud, from some cloud vessel. And on this transfiguration, Jesus sees Moses and Elijah. Interesting that he sees and encounters these two figures. Moses, who is also the most mentioned prophet in the Holy Quran, by the way, but Moses, whose God operates from a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, and Elijah, who is mentioned and encountered by Jesus. Elijah, whose God operates from a fiery flying chariot via a whirlwind in the sky. Huh? See, you can't explain it. Your religion can't explain it. You just left it, I just believe. In the Muslim world, there's so much that the scholars, the ulama, are unfamiliar with because it wasn't time for them to get the fullness of that understanding until the Messiah arrived. That's why there are certain things related to Allah's throne of power, his arsh, that the ulama, the scholars of the Muslim world, just don't know. So they use the term, they'll say bila kayf, which basically is a phrase that says without even asking how. We just believe. We're not going to ask, we can't ask how because we don't know. Bila kaif. But in the Gospels, everybody talking about Jesus coming. He left on a cloud, and he's expected to come back on a cloud. Come on, I know I got some church folk in here now. Where my church folk at? We talking about Jesus that everybody, all these Christians believe in now. And we believe in Jesus, but your book says that he left and went away on a cloud somehow. And when he comes back, he's going to come back via some kind of cloud. Now, how is that going to take place unless he's in some type of vehicle that can fly amidst the clouds? Praise is due to Allah. Now, I can't leave my Muslim brothers and sisters out. Throughout the Holy Quran, Allah is mentioned in this phrase, al-istiwa ala al-arsh. Allah is established upon his throne of power. Several places throughout the Quran, Allah lets us know his positioning. He is established. Istiwa is the main verb coming from the root sawa, which has to do with sitting, positioning. Allah sits. He is established upon his throne of power. Well, you say, okay, maybe that refers to his sovereignty over all that exists, because Allah is the Lord of the worlds. He's God over everything, right? So yes, it does refer to that too. But throughout the Holy Quran, we are giving these physical, tangible characteristics of Allah's throne as well. So there are certain parts where it says, and his throne was over the waters. Oh, so you mean this throne has some physical characteristics to it? See, that's some spatial. Has something to do with distance and space going on right there. His throne was over the waters. Ala al-May. Allah, upon, above, over. Al-May, the waters. Pretty much everywhere that term may is used in the Quran, it refers to water. H2O, water. So Allah's throne is above, is stationed above the earth's atmosphere and water, giving physical characteristics to this throne and giving even more physical characteristics, because Allah tells us in Surah Zumar that you shall see the angels. Wait. And you shall see come from an Arabic phrase, watara. Ra is the main verb meaning to see. Wa, and you shall see, watara. You shall see the angels going round about the throne. You mean the angels can go around and fly around Allah's throne, glorifying the praise of their Lord. And judgment, that term judgment again, must be a sign of the days of judgment. And judgment shall be given between them with justice. And it shall be said, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds. Maybe Allah is telling us that you're going to see these things one day. And when you do, if you know better, you should know what you're looking at. When others see these things, they might say, oh my God, what are these? They're unidentified. They're flying over our airspace, but not the believers. When the believers see these things, they're going to say, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the world. Because the believer knows. Yeah. All praise is due to Allah. See, when the believer sees them, the believer knows, okay, that's what Elijah Muhammad told us about in the first place. So the believer don't have to get too afraid, even though you might be surprised when you see it. Like, whoa. But the believer says, oh, praise is due to Allah. I may not have seen it before, but I believe. And I thank you, oh Allah, for confirming that belief and showing your power and superiority in the real world. So when the believers say it, they won't say, bila kaif. The true believers won't say without asking, I don't know. The true believers will say all praise is due to Allah. Brothers and sisters, you already know there's so much that I could go on when it comes to this topic, but I'm going to bring this thing to a close. I didn't even know I had all of that going on. I'm going to bring this thing to a close, but you can see why they consider the Nation of Islam the most dangerous topic today. They consider Farrakhan and this topic the most dangerous today. All praise is due to Allah. All praise is due to Allah. And so, I'm going to end with this slide right here. There's so much evidence that we've presented and so much more that can be presented. But I want to ask you, as Allah asks in the Holy Quran, and He shows you His signs. Which then of Allah's signs will you deny? Will we be like those that the Holy Quran speaks of, when the messengers were given and showing them signs and evidence, they still wouldn't believe? It got to a point where I think it was Moses, where they were so caught up in their disbelief, they didn't want to believe despite all the evidence. They were like, well, that's all right, but bring your God here manifestly. So in other words, I ain't going to believe until I see one of these wheels and the God come right outside the door and talk to me. It's going to take all of that for me to believe. I can't accept the evidence. I can't accept the signs. I can't accept the facts because I don't like y'all. I just want to believe what I want to believe anyway. We're not going to be like that, are we? So Allah says, which of Allah's signs will you deny? Brothers and sisters, I thank you for giving me this time, and I do apologize for going over time. Thank you for your time. Assalamu alaikum.